PowerCat Live. I am here again with my fellow PowerCat Mehdi. Welcome back, Mehdi.
Welcome. Thank you.
We've got even more to show. So today we're going to talk about theming. And so tell me a little bit. We know Canvas apps can be like really highly designed. What is the concept of theming with Canvas apps?
Yeah, so this is actually one of my favorite topics, by the way. I can't stand like apps that are not good looking, and usually having a proper traditionally theming has been a challenge to do in Power Apps Canvas app. We don't really have out of the box editing experience for a theme. Often brands need something more sophisticated, something that matches their colors, their font styles, and that's where these theming components that we release as part of the starter kit can help with that problem.
And I think that's important because in PowerCat we work with large organizations. They've got defined brands or established brands, and so those have a lot of elements then that you've made it easy to add into Power Apps and make sure that they're consistent across apps, right?
Exactly. If you see here some examples of brands that we work with, like there is SNCF, they have a very sophisticated guidelines for their design. So any apps that they're building needs to match certain colors, certain font styles. There's other brands we work with that are in the same boat, and often they really need to go and make sure every single button in their Canvas app matches those, and that can be a very time-consuming operation if you haven't planned for that properly. That's what we're trying to solve with the theming solution as part of the starter kit.
Now, you don't have to have the rest of the CoE starter kit installed if you want to use those, is that right? It's independent?
Correct. If you install that theming component or the theming solution, you'll get out of the box a few components here. One of the important one here is the theming editor. This is what we use to go and create and author those themes. And again, the idea is to, at the end of the day, when you're building an app, you don't have to go. You just need to apply. You just want to apply a theme to your app so that the colors, the font styles are proper. So, for example, like if I have here an app that is blank, but when I insert a button, it's a certain color. If I insert combo box, it matches a certain color scheme. These are not the out-of-the-box colors. Those are very specific styles or colors that I altered ahead of time. So that's what we are aiming for. So the theming editor that is part of this solution that you can launch here through the app section of the portal. Once it opens, it basically looks like this. This is a list of themes that you created. You could have one for your organization. You might have one for your team. The persona here that I expect to go and build themes is a designer that knows really about the color of the brand, proper font sizes that to be used. As the author of the theme, you can see here it reflects on the preview that you see here. And this is the exact theme that ends up being consumed with one of the template apps that we have also available as part of the solution. So to be a bit more explicit, you have the editor. This is where you author themes, but you have these starter templates that are solely empty apps that have been specially wired so that they understand how to consume a theme that was created by the theme editor.
And so those are apps that you would use for makers to have a starting point to make sure that their app is completely compliant with the branding guidelines that someone has set up as a theme.
Exactly. And just to kind of make it very concrete, we can go ahead and edit one of these apps. And we're going to create a theme. And we're going to show how, again, just to be clear, the theme editor is really useful for organizations that are going to start a new app. It's not going to apply a new theme to an existing app. But again, if you have put that in place and you have app makers starting their app development, they can start with one of those templates that we have available, and they can consume any theme that they build. So here I'm going to go back to my studio. And I'm going to create a new theme that we're going to call the PowerCat Life theme. So here it's generating styles. So we, under the hood, what we're doing is we are just saving basically the styles in a table in Dataverse so that we can actually later on consume it. So we're going to call it the PowerCat theme. And then just to make it easy on us, we're going to change maybe the black here. So that since we have that as part of our logo, maybe we give it some roundness here, maybe 15, maybe even more accentuated than that. So let's do 25. And let's say that this is our theme. You can simply go to your template app that you started with. And here you could just give the name of the theme that was just created. Okay. But now that I have a theme, I can actually just reinitialize the app start here. If I drop a button at this point, it should match the exact style that I just created. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. You can see here that that theme that I just created will be now available each time I drop a button, each time I drop any of the controls, it will pick up the actual theme that we just created. And this is very powerful because you don't have to go for every control, assign the values for the roundness, the font size. Just before releasing the app, I would take the theming information that I have in this Dataverse table, the style table, which is, you can see clearly in the solution file here. This is where we have all of the theming data. So I will export that in an Excel sheet that I embed with my app. And the reason being is that I don't want to incur a network code to go get theming information. So I will once the process of designing and making sure we have a nice looking theme, I would get that information from Dataverse into an Excel sheet that I then embed as part of my app. And then that way, at start time, the information is there. I don't have to do a call to Dataverse to get the data and then apply it. So that's an optimization that's highly recommended. It's still going to work if you don't do that. It's just going to be a tiny bit slower at start time because you have to do that extra call. But if I go and update this theme, and let's say here I changed the input value, but if I change back to some other color, I go back to my template app, all I have to do here is just restart the initialize, and then it styles everything at once.
Now, I noticed for the theming editor, too, there was a place to put images and other assets.
Yeah, so the assets, actually, the version I'm shipping next will give you an ability to upload things like icons and images. So the other thing that is part of the theming solution is this shared library, shared component library. As you noticed, when I was making the updates, the theming on this side have also components that also knows how to respond to themes. So those are components that you want to have as part of your solution. As an organization that is trying to standardize the theming and styling, components come next because that's an obvious place where you could have an official header, an official footer, all of the things that you want your organization to have as standard. So you could have theming also respond, or components also respond to theming. And the theming solution that we provide gives you a set of example of components, a preloader, a header, and a tab control. Those are just examples of how you would go and build a component that knows how to respond to a theme.
That tab control alone is pretty valuable, too.
Yeah. The tab control I use all the time. The header I use all the time. So those are just things that we thought would be useful. But an organization can add to this and also make sure that the theme that they are using gets applied to the components as well. And so out of the box, you will see that it picks up the colors with the default of the component. But because we have a common patterns of exposing styles in any components we release, and if you're creating your own components, you would have a styles property, which is just a table of colors. And here you could define your own colors for that component if you wanted to diverge from the actual theme. Or we have this collection that we call component styles that is already created at start time for you. So you just have to use it. And it already has the actual theme color. So you just have to pass that collection to the component in question. So to see a little bit that in action, at start time, what we do here is that we go and create out of the styles that we get from the theme name, we put that in our collection of styles. We then set a bunch of variables locally that are going to be global. And those are the actual variables that a button, say, fill color. If you see the fill here, the fill property, it will be primary color value too. This property value has to be set at start time in order for the button to actually acquire its color. So we do that, and then at the end here, we do a convenient collection for the styles that has basically all of the colors again, name and value pair. So that's basically all the wiring an app needs to have to get a theme and apply it to every single component.
And now I noticed you can create more than one theme. How does a maker go find all those themes that are available to them?
So right now we have a theme gallery that allow you to browse all of the, so I'll go play it. All of the themes that are available. So here someone can go see what themes they want. There's a process where if you created a theme, you can also upload the template apps that we were talking about. The idea is so you could upload them as part of a theme. And then a user, an app maker can go and download that actual MSAPP file that they can then use as a starting point. So there is a bit of friction here. It's not a perfect world. Ideally, we would have liked to have a team here that represents the brand that I think for now, having just the ability to create a team, be able to kind of easily just drop buttons and controls and have them use the right style, that is already a big time saver. And combined with the idea of having even components, I think an organization can get really very close to what they need in order to build the apps that is true to their brand and style. It's pretty easy to use overall. There are a few things that users should be aware of as an optimization or as a way for us to kind of get you started with creating teams easily. We chose to create a limited number of variables here. So you can see here we have primary color value 2 and 3. And when you change the color of this primary, this property, it will update a bunch of controls at the same time. You might have specific brand requirements where you might want a different color for your button than your maybe rating control. You can still go and expand a little bit more this theming system. Like you could go and add more variables. So those are all options for you. So this whole system is really a reference. You have access to the source code. You have access to the app. You could expand it and have it a bit more complex.
So if someone wants to get started using this, where do they go?
Yeah, they can simply go to the Starter Kit, CoE Starter Kit doc page here, how to get started. And there is a link down the page here where you could go and download the latest and just basically give it a try.
Well, thanks, Mehdi, for taking the time to show us this. I know that the customers I work with rely on this for the branding their Canvas apps.
Thank you. Thank you.